I welcome you to debate number 2 and the final debate for today. On my right is the affirmative team, FBE. Speaker number 1 is Justin Smith. Please stand up as I call your name. Majoring in Bachelor of Science in Physics and Mathematics. Speaker number 2 is Magnolia Talialo, Bachelor of Science major. Speaker number 3 is Irani Haini, preliminary students in biochemistry. On my left, team FSTE. Speaker number 1 is Seira Leo Tofete, Bachelor of Science. Speaker number 2 is Carol Tuitonga, Bachelor of Science and Information System. And speaker number 3 is Tolofai. The motion for this debate is the USP qualifications are relevant for meeting USP nation's priorities. Without further ado, we'll now give the floor to Mr. Justin Smith to set us off on our debate. Good luck to both teams.
Our team takes the affirmative stance. And before we go on with our points, we would like to define some key words in our topic. Firstly, we would like to define relevance. Relevance meaning it's useful. It means it's effective and it's needed. Second word is the priorities. The priorities are the urgent need of a nation, according to the topic. Our points, we have 3 points. We have only 3 points. And our first point is education. I will be explaining that. Our second point is the environment. Our third point is the covenants. Firstly, education in the Pacific is progressing greatly compared to the past few years. And it is because of the help from the USP graduates. An assessment done by the Pacific community on tertiary education in 2010 to 2016. More than 45,000 students participated from 20 universities across 13 countries, which was administered in 10 languages. And it was one of the largest assessments in the Pacific. It stated that in 2010, 74% of these students reached the expectancy, literacy, and numeracy proficiency level. And then in 2016, it has increased by 12%, resulting to an increased rate of 86 in 2016. This is where the qualifications of the USP comes in. And yes, literacy and numeracy has increased. My second bullet point to support my motion. Tuvalu is one of the world's smallest independent nation. And in terms of education, there are only 2 secondary schools. So the only institution capable of providing higher education is the USP Center. So with the help of the graduates and their qualifications, Tuvalu can benefit greatly. So my dear position, if you are willing to come up with points or come up with something to go against our topic, I strongly tell you, you are wrong. So mighty judges, the moderator, and mighty opposition, that's it. Thank you.
The USP qualifications are relevant for meeting USP nation's priorities. Talafalava and good morning to our panel of judges, moderator, our dear affirmative team, and to everyone here today. We are against the motion, and before we move on, I'd like to again define the key words which are relevant and priority. Our definition, almost similar to the affirmative team. Relevant simply means applicable, important, or useful, and priority means an urgent need or concern. So what are the overall 12 USP nations priorities? To support our stance against the motion, we will be focusing on these areas as our USP nation's priorities. Priority number 1, to improve our health sectors or ministries. Number 2, save our natural resources from the impacts of climate change. Number 3, for Samoa is to boost its economy utilizing agriculture. Number 4, to improve our infrastructures. 5, to improve our preparedness level to natural disasters. And the last one is to maintain our cultural identity. According to what Justin said about literacy and Tuvalu improving, I'm not sure what way or how you explained it, but you said literacy, right? Is it being literate in English or literacy as like knowing how to read and write in like English and all our native languages? I'm not sure that's correct because according to our research, one of the native languages that is endangered is Ratuman. And I think USB hasn't done anything to actually preserve our cultural identity, and that point will be, my second speaker will elaborate more on that. And you said Tuvalu improving, I'm not sure what way, but I think that Tuvalu is still sinking. The impacts of climate change are increasing in our Pacific region. Now on to my first point. According to Gormuz, during the UN meeting for NCDs in 2011, NCDs or non-communicable diseases are by far the largest killer on the planet and has continued to advance in low and middle income countries, which are the Pacific region, Pacific Island countries. And 63% of global deaths caused by NCDs receives less than 3% of international development assistance for health. How is USB helping to minimize the health issue within our Pacific region? There is no medical school, no nursing school or nursing courses offered in USB to educate our Pacific Islanders to cater for the needs of the health sectors or ministries. But fortunately, Samoa and Fiji are able to contribute to these sectors with FSM, Fiji School of Medicine, and NUS School of Medicine in Samoa. Also, another way to help eliminate NCDs in our Pacific Island countries is our locally made food products. The USB School of Agriculture and Food Technology was established in the late 1970s, I think late 1978 or 1977. But they weren't able to make and commercialize any food products. Then why put food technology in SAFT, School of Agriculture and Food Technology? That is misleading information right there. So to improve the livelihood and well-being of our Pacific people, our university should prioritize having our own locally made organic food products become locally used at a high rate instead of having all people to depend on the canned and processed foods from overseas, from countries like China, America, and other developed countries in the world. Secondly, and my last point is, Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research Annual Operational Plan 2016-2017 states that Fiji's aquaculture, forests and plantations suffered immensely from tropical cyclone Winston, and so the Australian government is currently researching ways to increase resilience and reduce the impacts of climate change on the development of sustainable agriculture, fisheries, forestry in Pacific Island countries. Another question is, how come Australia and other countries are the first willing to help? We Pacific people learned of climate change years ago. The USB, University of South Pacific, was established 50 years ago, and yet Tuvalu, Tokelau, Marshall Islands are suffering. They're still crying out for foreign countries to help. Thank you.
So, as you stated that health is one of the most important priorities of our USB nations, I'll tell you that our qualifications are just as relevant in combating the health issues of NCDs. You know, from studying qualifications such as arts to law and to economics as well, we're looking at more of the broader picture, what contributes to NCDs, the social and cultural factors, and the economic tariffs that we're not placing up to prevent these things from the imported products from being sold here. And also our agriculture sector. We are encouraging organic farming. I don't know where you are looking, but we actually are. Okay, now moving on to my points. Honorable judges, hello. Moderator, timekeeper, and fellow students. We strongly agree that USP qualifications are relevant in meeting the priority or urgent needs of USP nations. Firstly, USP courses cover one of the most crucial global challenges of that Pacific Island countries face, which is climate change. And we see this happening, like the warming temperatures and rising sea levels and storm surges. We know that these natural disasters are like detrimental to economic development as well as our food security. Already the seriousness of the issue is we have environmental refugees from Marshall Islands to Carteret Islands in New Guinea. So Pacific Island countries understand the seriousness of climate issues, climate change on their social, cultural, and economic survival. Therefore, they made it a priority in the past few years to create greater resilience to climate change and adaptive strategies. This is where USP comes in. We have a course on climate change. And prior to the course of climate change, we had fields of geography. We also had science. So, in turn of with the provision of these courses, we understand the issues. We get to understand the issues and its impacts. And in turn, it encourages us to research on solutions. And one of the solutions I could tell you has been one from agricultural courses for atolls with low elevated atolls who face food insecurity. Through agricultural courses, there's research placed into crops that can grow well in saline soils. Also, you can use raised artificial beds and use of compost to fertilize soil. Also, because we're vulnerable to natural disasters, these courses teach us disaster risk management, which can help reduce the effects as well as the loss of human lives. Also, these environmental considerations, which USP qualifications offer, looks at managing our natural resources. Now, we know that our Pacific Oceans are being exploited, and we at the same time contribute to the pollution and everything. Also, other natural resources like phosphate mining in Nauru, as well as nickel in New Caledonia, and the use of water to hydroelectricity. We are actually making contributions in researches for sustainable management of these natural resources. One of the students, one of the achievements for USP is this student who received patent for his research on solar wave energy. That's an improvement. That's an improvement. Because we're resolving and we're trying to tackle these adaptation to climate change through solar energy. So thank you.
Thank you, Magnolia, for your lovely points. But I strongly disagree about your environmental issues point that you mentioned that we do have climate change and science courses. Yes, USB does have climate change and science courses and all of those environmental courses. However, natural disasters are still happening and people are not even alert before it happened. That just means that if the USB are teaching these students about how to alert and how to know the signs of these climate change, of these natural disasters, then they should have been able to alert the people before something happened. But no, they're not using it, which makes their qualification irrelevant for the nation's priority. I strongly support the point that my first speaker has mentioned, because yes, indeed, USB does not have a medical school or nursing school to broaden the knowledge of these students who want to become doctors and nurses in the future. Or even to meet the needs of the health sector. USB also is not even contributing or helping these people that have been affected by disasters and climate change. USB, there's no proof that USB contributed to these areas that have been affected. Which brings me to go against the motion that USB qualification is so irrelevant for the nation's priority. Why? Because my priority is maintaining our cultural identity and improving our preparedness level to to natural disaster. USP, we do not even use or prioritize our culture within USP. Everything is taught in English. But if you go across the ocean, I myself is an evidence of this. I was in a Japanese school, and I had to learn the Japanese culture and their knowledge and their language for 3 months before I take courses in Japanese language. But if you look at it, Japan is one of the top countries in the world. We should have been more advanced if we are using English to teach our courses. But instead, these countries that are prioritizing their nature and their culture are way more far advanced and developed than us. Which brings me down to my second point, improving of our preparedness level to natural disasters. Yes, they say that they take courses in environmental and whatsoever, but these natural disasters are still happening and people are dying. But they didn't even, but they weren't able to predict a tsunami, for example, that happened in 2009. A lot of people died. Where were these USP graduates and their so-called knowledge and their so-called qualification at before that happened? No, they weren't even there to alert the people that this was going to happen. People died. Lives were taken. Where were these USP and your so-called qualification at that time? No, that's why I said. That's why I strongly disagree that I strongly disagree that USP qualification is relevant to the nation's priority, because it is not relevant for the nation's priority. We should have used traditional methods as well in USP to help us prepare ourselves for these natural disasters before it happened. Because USP, we are neglecting our culture and even the traditional methods. We are neglecting everything that comes down being traditional. But they should have used these methods to help them, because not only your knowledge can help you prepare our nation for their safety. Even if you have that knowledge that you said that you take science courses, no. Even if you take that knowledge but you don't have practical ways or go back to your roots, there is no proof that can help save our country. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of round 2 with that very emphatic contribution from Carol. We now call on speaker number 3 of Affirmative to start us off in the third round.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard and witnessed what Speaker 2 has said about their points, and I strongly disagree, because you mentioned something about the tsunami. That's beyond our reach. That is between God and His people, and you also mentioned about going to Japan. We're talking about the Pacific here, girl. And and also English, mentioning English in USP. We need English to understand other people, other countries in USP. And now to my point to support our standards. And my point is governance. I collected 4 main requirements of good governance, which leads to eco-development, according to Asian Development Bank, is 1, rule of law, 2, accountability, 3, participation, 4, transparency. 1, the requirement of good governance is rule of law. No one is above the law. We all need the law to go in good ways. 2, accountability, the responsible to a citizen. So a role of a leadership is to acknowledge an assumption, the responsibility. He or she has to provide the needs for the citizen before them. 3, participation. Citizen can have the right to participate in the politics. And 4 and last, transparency is to be honest. That is to be a free society, and the government application should share information with citizens. In relation to the topic, USP qualification, in terms of graduates, can greatly help each nation in achieving their priorities. So, my brother and sister, If you're thinking or suggesting that you will come up and, that our points are wrong, then you're definitely wrong. Honorable judges, moderator, and also to the cameraman, thank you very much.
So, as one of my speaker, my team stated that if you think that USP qualification is relevant, why do our people go to New Zealand? Why do our people go to Australia, New Zealand for Otago University? Why do our people go to NUS if you think our qualification is relevant? Why? Why? So, and as one of my speakers stated that it's about nursing, medical. Yeah, USP, there's no qualification for nursing. But as we see nowadays, how many life lost because of what? There's no, maybe I think that if we still have a medical like program, maybe same problem. So, and I would like to, as one of your last speaker declare, which is not true. If there was a good governance, then why is there still corruption in our governance? Why, if there was a good governance, then why is there still corruption in our government? Why? Why? There are a lot of students graduate from USP. They have qualification, but maybe those people they cause corruption in government. So my first point is to improve the economy in terms of agriculture. To improve the terms of economy in terms of agriculture. In what area? Poverty. Poverty. What is poverty? Malnutrition. Lack of food. Do you know what to like said? We have enough lawyers. We have enough accountants, nurses. But take agriculture because it is relevant. Why? Because of what? Poverty. Because of what? Maybe the lawyer can give you too much liars. No. Nurse? No. If you become hungry or thirsty, you go straight to a farmer, the person that gained much experience about agriculture stuff. Second point is to improve our infrastructure. Comes under roads, business. You know, I think that this time we have a lot of people from Japanese. Why do we have people from Japanese, Chinese, America, New Zealand, Australia? Because of what? To fix our road. To fix our road. Because of what? There's no special knowledge in the Pacific to come and do this kind of infrastructure. See our building at the Faleolo? Who built it? Chinese. How about the hospital? Who? Chinese. Because of what? We have no experience. Why? Maybe the next 2 years, I also left Falia. I may go put Falia. Demolish. Who gained it? Chinese. Who lost? Us, someone. And I think that one of the evidence like China had 350 billion aid to projects in different Pacific island countries. So it means that USP qualification is irrelevant to satisfy the needs and wants of our Pacific people. So, and lastly, I must say that USP qualification just a piece of paper, not making justice to the system. Thank you.
To summarize, education is the top priority of the USP nation. It is indeed a success with the help of graduates from each nation to tackle the difficulties that comes across. But to support my speaker two's point, in combating effects of climate change, USP courses have provided adaptive strategies to food securities and disaster risk management and managing of our natural resource. My speaker three states that governance issues can be handled by USP graduates through ethics and law courses they undertake. So education, environment, and governance, these are the main priorities given by our group. And in order for each Pacific nation to succeed, literacy, and numeracy, a success in the environment on how to overcome challenges, and lastly, governing each nation is the key to a greater development, so that success for a Pacific nation is not just a promise written on paper. Thank you.
We will now have the leader of the opposition sum up their points.
Ladies and gentlemen, our side strongly believes that the USP does not offer relevant qualifications to meet our 12 USP nations priorities because there is no medical and nursing school to meet the needs of our health sectors. Impacts of climate change on our islands and natural resources continue to rise every year. There is no school, no civil engineering program to cater for our infrastructural needs. We have accountants, lawyers, and graduates in science and agriculture, and yet poverty still remains a big issue in the Pacific. The important factors of our cultural identities, like our native languages, are not taught and practiced here in the USP. And lastly, USP may offer courses on preparation for natural disasters, and still Pacific people don't know how to react in times of disasters. Now, many have considered studying at USP just to get a piece of paper so that they can get a job to help take care of their families. The government of Samoa offers scholarships to the UPY students in NUS, and the top students in the list, the top of the list, are taken to the universities in Australia and New Zealand. If the standards of the USP were the same as those universities there, then without a doubt, the government will only take the students of Samoa to USP. And why are we still not developed countries? Why are still developing countries? We believe that the relevance of the USP qualifications is determined by how well the graduates carry out their assigned jobs in all the different sectors. And so far, the overall objectives of this university and the priorities of the 12 USP nations still have not been met. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, USP does not offer relevant qualifications to meet the 12 USP nations' priorities. You know, we're not discrediting our university because, yes, we love USP, but we're just here to do our job as the opposition team. We had to gather points and to, it's to support our arguments. You know, we had to get information to support our arguments. You know, I would really like to be on that side, but unfortunately, we chose to be on this side. But, okay, my third speaker, as Victory mentioned something about the Chinese people working on the airport. What my third speaker meant was that there is no civil engineering program to educate our people to be experts in that field, right? And yet we're depending on the Chinese and Japanese and overseas foreign countries to like take care of this field for us. And yet, still our roads are really bad. They're still not being fixed. I don't know why, the government, I don't know. And corruption, yes, there is corruption. Corruption is everywhere. We study that in UU 200. We learned of corruption because, no one is perfect, right? We speak of good governance as the affirmative team spoke about, and yet, it's your choice. It's your choice to do good or bad. And that's why we hear it on the news. There's corruption, the CEOs, the ministers being accused of, corruption and whatever they were doing, stealing money and stuff. Well, that's evidence. It's been proven. People have been taken to jail for corruption. And as Gina mentioned something about, I forgot what sorry. Who was that? Salvatus. They mentioned something about the English language. So what my second speaker meant is that we should have courses to like Samoan language course, Fiji, because I think there's Fiji language course there, and the other countries, the 12 USP nations. In order for us to maintain our cultural identity, we must have that in this is the University of the South Pacific, and yet we don't practice, we don't learn about our culture, and it's dying, it's actually dying. And yes, the English language is, communication language, it's good, but You know, we should care about our identity, and because we're Pacific Island people, and we should maintain our cultural identity. Thank you.
You mentioned something about your team's points, that those are like you guys are just doing your job. So you're saying you guys are like what you guys saying are all lies? Judges, listen. So just listen. They're all saying are all lies. What we're doing here are all facts. Okay, thank you so much.
You give the floor to the judges to give their feedback.
Malu lava. Thank you very much, our colleagues, for the debate today. I guess if we were marking you for public speaking and oratory, I would give you all 100% each. I'm sure our USP will reach Parliament in the next 5 years. In our debate today, looking to the substance of our topic and your argument, it really reminds me of when I was a student in USP, where I have to do really late assignments, last-minute assignments, and I guess this is evident today. And I wouldn't say to encourage you to keep on doing it, but these are some of the critical issues that we face nowadays. USP graduates, as you mentioned, I was hoping that some of you would mention the USP alumni, as I am a rep from the USP alumni. Taking into account the amount of our graduates now being employed in all sectors of the government. But hopefully you would understand when you graduate and go into the workforce. My word of advice to all, we would like to see more seriousness taking into account these kind of things, to provide more comprehensive arguments, to critically analyze issues that affect our livelihoods. Yeah? If you are talking about the standard of our university, then this is where you should show exactly how we should put our standards up. Yeah? And hopefully that when you go into the workforce, you will not be as doing late night assignments as of like today and we're seeing today. Bit of word of encouragement, keep the good work up and take everything seriously. Nowadays, there's a whole lot of competition. USP is competing with NUS, other graduates from other overseas universities, and we are proud of this university. We are working there in the workforce and we are constantly competing for jobs. There's no secret about that. When you go out there in the field, when you graduate, there's no guarantee that a job will be available for you. You will be competing with a whole lot of 100 other graduates out there. So, thank you for the debate today. You've seen some really good points. I wish we could have elaborated more and provide more comprehensive analytics, more stats. That would be good to support your arguments. But, well, next time will be better. I hope Friday, our debate on Friday, Wednesday will be much better. For our debate today, I can say that the opposition team has won our debate today. Thank you very much for participating.
Now, what this means now is that the two debates on Wednesday will be between Pacific TAFE and FSTE, who will be vying for second place. The topic that they'll be vying, the motion for the second place between Pacific TAFE and FSTE on Wednesday at 10 in the morning will be USP can be more successful as a paperless university. We will go now after this and toss the coin for the stances. The motion which will be debated for the finals for the first place between FALE and FPE is USP promotes cultural enrichment among its students and member countries. USP promotes cultural enrichment among its students and member countries. That will be the motion debated upon by FALE and FPE, who will be mine. Sorry, my apologies. FALE and FSTE for the first position. I take this opportunity to thank some of the staff members who are in the house who have been working hard in mentoring some of our teams. And we acknowledge Dr. Sanila Mehta and Associate Professor Tiara. Thank you very much indeed for supporting our students in their strive to become the leaders that you already are. These are tiny little steps building you up into the probably future uncorrupted politicians that you will be very, very soon. So for the information of all, our debate on Wednesday will start again at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we'll probably finish sooner than today. Today's timing was quite good. I thought we would go to 2 hours and a half, but I think we're just playing within 2 hours time tops. So without further ado, let's all give ourselves a big clap. Thank you indeed to Rudy and the team, the cameraman, and our own great IT technicians, and of course, our Savaiwan, Apakuki. Thank you very much indeed. And real asshole.